Hey everybody, Steve Burns here from ChromaLution.com. I have a tutorial I think you're going to really like. Alright, so we're going to talk about this concept of depth maps and how to use depth maps to actually control depth of field. Alright, so here's a shot I did over at Death Valley Junction going over toward Death Valley National Park, and I want to actually control the depth of field between these three objects. We have our primary point of focus here, we have a secondary and a tertiary point of focus here on either side of our image. So I want to be able to control the concept of your tertiary and secondary point of focus by or point of focus, yes, by controlling the blur effect. Okay, and we're going to utilize tonal values to control that blur effect. Photoshop is going to utilize tonal values in order to create a depth of focus. Let me explain how this works. Let's go target our channels. Let's make a brand new channel. Let's go ahead and apply a particular shade of gray to this channel. So I'm going to hit the G key for the gradient, and it's black to white, and I'm going to go ahead and start from the top, drag it down. There's my gradient. Now once the gradient is targeted, I'm going to go right on back over here to the RGB composite, go back to my layer, and I'm going to apply a particular filter to utilize that particular channel to create the depth of focus. Remember, it's using shades of gray, blacks, medium grays to whites. If I access my filter menu, blur, and here under lens blur, most people are familiar with what's going on with lens blur, but they often don't utilize the depth map option. Really nice for people who don't want to do a whole lot of compositing in Photoshop, but would rather use the single photograph and simply apply your depth of focus on that single photograph. It may only have one layer or a duplicate layer, and all you want to do is apply depth of focus just to that one. You don't want to break everything up into layers and so forth. You want it to be a nice, quick, down and dirty a process. So if I go to my radius going all the way to the left, gives you no blur effect. Going all the way to the right gives you a nice strong blur effect. So I'm going to pull this back and go midway so that it's somewhat affected. It's not too strong, but it's not completely taken out either. So I'm going to come right over here to what's called the depth map. Now this is where it's going to apply your tonal values to create that depth of field from foreground to background, and target the source. And what do we have? We have the alpha 1 as the channel that we're going to use. That's what we just created. Now here under blur focal distance is where we can adjust how that's being applied. Now watch where the slider is being positioned on either side. So here, it's right there, are your numerical equivalents to your black and white information closer to the 255 white. The 255 white area, which is actually located right down here in the bottom, becomes in sharp focus. If we go to the mid-tone area right dead in the center, that becomes in sharp focus. And if we go over to the absolute black, the areas that represented the absolute black on the gradient, now those areas of the photograph becomes in sharp focus. Okay, let's go ahead and cancel this out, and let me share with you a little bit more of a sophisticated way of applying your depth of focus. Now right up here I have a layer group called blur maps, and if I turn it on, you get to see how I have broken down the scene into a series of tonal values. Let's open up this, and they're all basically just layers. So the very front one represents my primary point of focus, the large water, I guess it's the water tank. And if we go down here, this is the foreground area. It's not as bright as the water tank, because the water tank is my primary point of focus, my main subject matter here for composition. This is slightly lighter, and then right behind it is the shed in the background and the areas that represent the plane that the shed is sitting on. So if I turn this off, I have my background, which is not going to be as blurred out as the extreme background, but it'll be somewhat of a blur. So let's turn them on. Turn them all on. And all I did was take a paintbrush and just paint across and paint into the areas where I wanted the depth of focus to be. And if I come right back up and turn this off and on, you can get a good idea as to where things are located. In fact, let's go ahead and bring this out. This is turned on. Let's turn everything off, and you can see how I basically applied this. Took a paintbrush and just painted inside the lines of all these areas and fill them in. And if I go to this one here, that's the foreground. Go to the background. That represents the shed right behind our primary subject. And this represents, let's go ahead and turn this off, that represents the areas in the back. And as I place them into the importance of layers, that's the background, that one's the shed, that's a little bit lighter tonal value, even lighter tonal value coming toward the front, and an absolute white, which is our water tank here. So let's go ahead and turn everything on, and let's apply this to our channel. So I'm going to hit Command A, Command Shift C, which means select everything inside underneath the layer. Go to my channels, make a brand new channels, Controller Command V, and place it in. Now I'm gonna hit Command D to deselect. Go back to my top layer here. Let's go ahead and turn off our blur images. I don't need them anymore. The blur maps are done. And with the top layer targeted, filter, blur, and let's go get our, what do we want? We want our lens blur. And this time, let's go ahead and give it a little bit more right there so we can see the effects right off the back. And alpha 2 is what we've just created, targeted. There it is. So if we go to our blur distance, we can play around. There we go. Start playing around with this. Alright, so now the back objects are much more blurred than the front objects. The ones that are white, there we go, we bring it all the way over, are just going to be in absolute focus, while the others, this one's slightly in focus right over here. Let's actually zoom in a little closer. And that's slightly out of focus, and this is even more out of focus back in here. And you can go back through there and you can adjust those tonal values using your levels to adjust the strength of the focus, so to speak. Okay, so I hope this tutorial has been, helpful for you. Go in here, play around with this. I'm going to go ahead and click OK and play around with this a little bit and see how it works for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to go to my website, chromeillusion.com, and don't forget also to go over to my tutorials section, and you'll find more tutorials. All my layers tutorials are here, as well as other various styles, advanced, intermediate, beginning, and so forth. Alright guys, had a lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing you next time. This is Stephen Burns. I'm signing out.